This is the Monopoly Zapped Edition, which incorporates the use of an iPad or an iPhone. Android devices are not supported at the moment. And what the iPad does is that it helps you to calculate all cash-related transactions. So you can see there's no more cash, Monopoly Cash anymore, and instead you have these 4 credit cards, one for each player. And by using the credit card and the iPad app will help you calculate any transactions, paying rent, paying for income tax, luxury tax, purchases, mortgages, etc. And even in the end, when you calculate who has the largest amount of assets, the iPad app will do it all for you. So this speeds up the game quite a lot. Apart from calculating transactions, the iPad app also has mini games. For example, there are no more chance or community chest cards anymore, because whenever you land on these positions, you press the chance or community chest button on the app, and the app will tell you what to do. So this is what you see when you first turn on the Monopoly Zapped iPad app. I'll show you how you get started. Start. Now this game you can play up to 4 players because there are only 4 credit cards. For this example, I'll show you how it works with 2 players. So you say you have 2 players. And just say it's the first time you play, so there's no player that you can load, so you create a new player. And it'll ask you for a name. So we'll just call the first player Player 1. And it'll ask you to pick a token. So just say Player 1 picks the top hat. And it asks you to pick a credit card. So I'll pick this one, orange credit card for Player 1. Tap your bank card on these white spaces. There. Now for the second player. We'll do that again. We'll call him Player 2. Pick a token, pick this shoe. Again, ask you to place the credit card. There. And it tells you to place the device in the center of the board, which we've already done. And sit around the board. Now ask Player 1 to tap the corner closest to you. So just say Player 1 is sitting at the left corner here. And Player 2 is sitting here. Then say spin the arrow to see who starts. Player 2. So Player 2 rolls the dice. So you roll the dice, and that gives me 5. So Player 2 goes forward from the go 5 spaces to Reading Railroad. So once you get to these property spaces, then just like the traditional Monopoly game, you can buy it. So you find the Reading Railroad card and find it here. And how do you pay for it? First of all, you go and click on the second player, and then you go to property. And then you choose buy. So what's the price of it? The price of it is 2 million. So you put in the value of the property, 2 million. Tick. And then you place your credit card on the white space to pay for it. And they'll automatically pay 2 million out of the second player's bank account. Now just say on the Player 1's turn, he also rolls a 5. And so he lands on Reading Railroad. So what happens? You look at the property card for Reading Railroad, and it says the cost of rent if you have one railroad is $250,000. So player 1 needs to pay $250,000. And how do you do that? You first select player 1. Then you, instead of selecting property, you select pay rent. So player 1 takes their credit card and taps it on the white space. And then inputs the rent, which is $250,000. $250K. Okay. And then it asks you tap your card to collect rent. So the owner of the property, which is player 2, with the green card, taps on the white space to collect the rent. And then there's a transfer of money from player 1 to player 2. Now just say player 2 collected both Park Place and Boardwalk, which are all the properties of the blue color. So now he wants to build a house on it. So how do you build a house? Well, according to the property card, just say a house on Boardwalk costs 2 million Monopoly dollars. So you click on house and hotel and ask you what you want to do. So you want to buy a house, a building. Yes. And enter the total cost of buildings from the property card. So 2 million for one building. And it tells you to tap your card to pay. And you've paid for the building, and then you can place one of these building counters onto Boardwalk. That's how it works. In a similar fashion, you can also build hotels. Now just say player 1 lands on one of the tax spaces. Let's just say he landed on luxury tax. You'd have to pay. And how do you do that? Select luxury tax. And it'll say, instruct you to tap your card to pay. And $1 million will be paid to the bank. In a similar fashion, you can pay for income tax if you land on it. Just say player 2 lands on income tax. So you, instead of picking luxury, you pick income tax. It tells player 2 to tap their card. And $2 million will be paid to the bank. Now when you pass go, you can collect $2 million salary. You do that by selecting on go. And the bank pays $2 million to player 2. Just say player 1 lands on chance. Press chance. And look, say service with a smile, get rewarded $250K. So then you tap your card and collect. Every time it's different, so you can never tell what happens when you click on chance. Other times it can be a game. Now just say player 2 lands on community chest. It's pretty similar to chance. Again, you don't know what's going to happen. Building repairs. So this is a game. And you have to pick an opponent. In this situation, there's only one. So player 1 plays against player 2, and in this game, which is just one of many mini games, it asks you to tap the broken windows to fix them, and the slowest player must pay for repairs. Just say here. Okay. There. So player 1 loses. And the penalty is $3.5 million. So sometimes the penalty is quite heavy. Now just say player 2 goes to jail. What happens? On the next turn, you have to try and get out of jail. You go to get out of jail. And you say how many turns you've been in jail. So just say it's the first turn. And you can have several choices. You can either break out by playing a game, or you can pay to immediately get out, or you can roll a double. And usually what people do is to try and play a game to break out, because rolling a double is very difficult. And there's no point paying to get out if you can try and break out for free. So, break out. And every time you break out, you play the same game, which is similar to Angry Birds. You just try and get Mr. Monopoly to throw him into the car. You have to get over the wall and onto the getaway car. So here's the car, there's the wall, there's Mr. Monopoly. And here is a power meter. And you can, apart from adjusting power, you can adjust the angle. So the car is quite far away, so try that. You have 2 tries. Right, that wasn't enough. And there, and you get out for free. And then you can roll the dice and continue playing. Now just say player 1 wanted to buy Park Place from player 2, and they agree on a price of $3.5 million. So player 2 passes the property card to player 1, and player 1 has to pay player 2. So select player 1, select pay player. And player 1 puts his orange card on the white space and inputs the amount, 3.5 million. And then player 2 taps the card to collect. I think one of the very attractive features of this game is that when the game ends, you don't have to count all your money, and you don't have to calculate the value of your properties, mortgaged and unmortgaged, as well as the buildings and hotels built on it. The iPad will do it easily and quickly for you. So just say the game ends, so you select end, and then it says let's find a winner. And it'll start asking you questions about who owns what properties. So start off with the cheapest property. Just say the second player owns it, and you say this one. Do you own all the brown properties? Say yes, if that's true. Then you have to answer whether it's mortgaged or not. Just say it is mortgaged. You select that. Then I'll ask you about Baltic. Is it mortgaged? If it's not, then don't press that. And then instead answer how many buildings or hotels are there. Just say there are 3 buildings. Then I'll go to the next color, the blues. Who owns that? Just say the first player. And just say he doesn't own all the properties. They'll ask you, is it mortgaged? No. Now just say no one owns the property. Say Atlantic Avenue. If no one owns it, that means the bank owns it. And you select this, the bank. After it's gone through all of the properties, it will finally ask you, are you ready to find out the winner? You press on the green button to find out. So in second place is player 1 with 22.4 million. And in first place is player 2 with 27.25 million. And that's how the game works. It's very convenient. The iPad keeps track of your money, and it also introduces mini games that you can play, and at the very end it calculates very conveniently who has the most money and finds out the winner.